the Shuriken. This new throwable was added with the Gage Ninja DLC, and unlike the other throwables, it's a little bit different. First off, instead of getting 3 grenades, Molotov cocktails, or dynamite, you actually start off with 10 Shuriken. And this throwable in particular has been coated in poison, and it has the ability to deal dot damage as well as incapacitate your enemy through making them vomit. So it's a pretty interesting throwable. I really do enjoy it. It doesn't say here, but it has a base damage of 100, so that's just something else that you might want to keep in mind. Anyway, let's get on with it.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Alrighty, fellas. In my opinion, I think these Shuriken are probably the hidden gems of the Ninja Pack. They're just so fun to use, and while it may not be as powerful as, say, like Molotovs, they're still pretty useful in their own way. So, grenades and dynamite don't really deal a lot of damage, and in most instances you're not really using them with the intention of getting kills with them. You're mostly just using them for their AoE stun abilities. Molotovs are also kind of like that. They're mostly used for their AoE capabilities, but they have a much smaller radius than the explosives, and they're perfect for area of denial tools, because they deal a lot of dot damage, and it basically just denies any enemies from crossing over its path. And it does have a fairly decent time that it's active, so there's that. Now, with these two, the throwables, they're pretty different from the Shurikens, because they're really used for crowd control. Shurikens, you know, they're really just for single target execution. As I mentioned earlier, Shurikens deal 100 damage when thrown, and they also deal poison dot damage. Now, I don't know exactly how much the dot damage is, but it does a fair amount of work on the weaker guys. They die fairly fast. Poison weapons also have a chance of incapacitating your enemies, so, you know, it forces them to vomit, and they're basically vulnerable for a few seconds. And it makes it especially useful on stuff like tasers and cloakers, so they can't tase you or cloak you when they're in that animation. The incapacitate feature doesn't work on bulldozers though, so you know, if you poison them, you'll just have to keep on shooting them because they'll be shooting back. The dot damage still affects them, but you know, they have a metric shit ton of health, so it's not really wise to rely on the dot damage to kill the dozers. After playing with the Shurikens for a bit, they appear to get headshot damage multipliers. I'm fairly certain they do because they'll die a lot faster if you hit them in the head. But doing so is not really all that easy. I know for myself, I usually have a hard time aiming the Shuriken, so I normally just aim for center mass since it does penetrate armor. You don't have to worry about that. A nice thing about the Shurikens is that you can pick them up off the ground just like arrows from the bow and arrow, or the bolts from the crossbows. So, unlike the other throwables, you can be actually kind of self-sustained with the Shurikens. And while they're not really great with dealing dozers like the other throwables are, they're pretty good for the rest of the specials, I would say. One setup I like having, as you can see here, is a 6-shooter secondary, and I pair it with the Shurikens. And what I'll do is I'll toss a Shuriken to make them start vomiting, or to, you know, just deal some dot damage. And then when they're an easy target, I'll put a few easy shots to the head with the 6-shooter. And since the 6-shooters have a lot of damage, you usually only need like 1 or 2 shots. And then you just rinse and repeat. It's pretty fucking cool. I actually do enjoy playing this way. I feel like a ninja cowboy or something. Best of both worlds. Next, we just need to have pirate weapons, and then I can be a ninja cowboy pirate or something. Anyway. It really also helps to save ammo as well. I mean, as you can see, I'll throw a Shuriken and then it saves a shot or two for my guns. I feel like the Shurikens have a really high chance to incapacitate too, when compared to the other poison weapons. They pretty much seemingly always cause the vomit animation, whereas the other ones you might not get, especially with like the kunai. I think the kunai has the lowest chance of causing that incapacitate. But it happens with the crossbow bolts and the arrow tips as well. So because of that, I always try to toss one on a taser or a cloaker, the Shurikens that is, and it'll pretty much make them safe to approach when they can't attack you, you know. As soon as they're vomiting, they're really easy targets, and they also don't have the ability to tase you or cloak you, so they're very weak after that. Another nice thing you can do is hit a cloaker running at you, and if you're fast enough, and if you can get to him before he gets to you, he'll vomit before he can kick you, you know, so that's something that was really nice about the buzzer melee. Although the buzzer melee is a lot more reliable for this, because the poison does take a little bit of time to actually work. But, you know, should you hit a cloaker that's running at you, you know, he's about to kick you, if you hit him before he has the chance to, you can actually cause him to vomit, and then he'll stop his animation. So it's really useful for that. And I also find Shurikens to be a really handy tool for those situations where, you know, I've run out of ammo on both my guns and I gotta reload, or I'm making my way towards the escape and I have to run past like 3 cloakers, and, you know, paired that with the whole fact that I might not have ammo in my guns, they make it really useful for those situations. It's a very quick and fast-acting tool at your disposal. The thing that's nice about the Shurikens is that there's really no charge time, and it also has a surprisingly good range. I don't really show it in this video, but it's got a really good range with a really small arc to the projectile, so you don't really have to compensate too much at mid-ranges. It has some pretty crazy range. A lot better than the crossbow, that's for sure. I think the only stupid thing about it is if you ready your shuriken to throw, but you decide that you don't actually want to throw it, well, there's no button to actually put it back. You just kind of have to throw it. So you'll see me sometimes I'll just throw it right on the ground and pick it back up. It's a small thing, but it's pretty annoying nonetheless. So this is actually a little concern about the shuriken. It might not be able to handle large amounts of enemies at a time, but it's also arguable that it's not good for single targets either. And the thing is, it's because of the poison. Poison takes a while to kill the units with more health on higher difficulties. And while it's nice that it deals dot damage and a debuff, you know, the incapacitate, enemies in this game don't actually take long to kill with the right setups anyway. So you could go as far as to say that poison is unnecessary and that you could focus your setup in other places. I mean, this is just talking about the poison in general though, and not really specifically the shurikens. I still think poison is pretty decent for, you know, like I said, the specials, but it's definitely a lot more situational than say grenades or molotovs. Still, I think the shurikens are pretty fucking fun to use, and they're great for hit and run tactics where you shuriken someone and then you run away, letting the poison kill them or just letting them vomit. And, or, you know, you're making your escape, you pass by some cloakers, like I said. Instead of killing them, you can just throw a shuriken and let them vomit and blah, blah, blah. I don't know, it's just, there's a lot more interesting things you can do with these shurikens, and it's just great for fucking around and for loads of shenanigans. Of course, like I said, it's not really OP, and it doesn't really compare to, say, the molotovs, because those are probably the most powerful throwable you can have in this game so far. But they're fun to use, and they're definitely nice to change up your playstyle, spice it up, you know, give yourself a little variety, and I do enjoy that. So, yeah, that's really all I got to say about them shurikens. They're pretty fucking fun to use, and that's really why I use them. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of the gameplay.
For the money. Good job getting your gang through that little mashup.
Don't mess with life. money is for you to enjoy. I see you again.